Welcome to the Mesozoic Media Park. The goal for this park is to fill it with as many movie, show, and documentary dinosaurs as we possibly can. This time we'll be taking a crack at the awesome documentary known as Prehistoric Park. Contrary to what the intro just said, I actually have two plans for this park. I want to do two things from Prehistoric Park, as mentioned in the opening sequence right there, but at the beginning over here, I also want to do Crystal Palace Park, as in the very awesome dinosaur statues in Crystal Palace Park. That's our plan today. We'll start off with Prehistoric Park, and then we will go ahead and move over to Crystal Palace Park. We'll place Prehistoric Park right next to this right here, since the Giganotosaurus did in fact eat Nigel Marvin. Very unfortunate. So, you know, it makes sense to put that. Now, what I plan to do for this is to create both Theo's enclosure, the Triceratops, as well as Terrence and Matilda's enclosure. And since they're actually enclosures in the actual thing, we're going to place them in enclosures here too. So there is a map available for Prehistoric Park. It is in one of the books that I've taken a look at before on this channel. So I'm at least going to try to keep it at least somewhat faithful to that. And unfortunately, there's no like wooden fences in this game, so I need to like try to get by with this. So first, there's Triceratops Creek right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a nice kind of I'm putting like the weakest fences, since of course they only had like wooden fences to help enclose dinosaurs. You know that one shot where Theo like charges at the fence? There's no way that fence would have held him back. Oh man, but I love that show. You have no idea how much I love that show. I know I already did a review on that video or on that series like a while ago, but I wouldn't mind doing another review. There's just so much to say about it. We were robbed of a season 2. Like, truly. I really wish that we could have seen a season 2. Yeah, unfortunately, there's really not too many creatures I can do for Prehistoric Planet. Prehistoric Park. I might release some Titanosaur sauropods and let them walk around, like maybe some Dreadnoughtus to, like, just walk around the whole park, you know, like how the Titanosaurs in Prehistoric Park did. I think that'd be kind of fun. I might do that. Okay, I don't know how it didn't become square, but you know what? That adds to the charm. We're going to keep it like that. So, of course, there is a creek that runs through Theo's enclosure. It kind of like starts from like over here, and it looks like he has access to both sides of the creek. So we're going to we're going to allow that to, like, it's just going to run through the middle. It's not the biggest creek in the world, so what we'll do is we'll start it from like here, and then go through like that. Yeah, and then we'll raise up rest of this. And there is a lot of vegetation that Theo has access to, so we'll go ahead and place all of that down too. Like, a lot of it is kind of forested, so I guess just regular forests. Also, there is a road that goes through here, so maybe what I could do for that is just some dirt and just kind of fade it through here, like it's like a try to make it look like that road a little bit. There's a lot of vegetation, a lot of foliage everywhere. There's also a singular tree that Theo was, he was attacking it because, he was lonely. So we're going to try to find a tree that most resembles that tree. Okay. There we go. If you know, you know. Alright, so that's the Triceratops enclosure, and technically speaking, if we're going off of this map right here, the T-Rex enclosure is just literally just basically right next to it. So probably on the other side of the creek right here. We'll place it right here, I think. Of course, this is Terrence and Matilda, and they actually have a giant hill in their enclosure. So I'm going to place that hill in here. I won't make it too big, but, we will do this. That's the hill. And what I'll also do is I'll split their enclosure in half. Because, if you don't know, they're, in the lore of Prehistoric Park, these two did not get along once they grew up. And Matilda, who was bigger than her brother Terrence, had bullied him quite significantly. And he was no match. So they had to separate them, and eventually they just kind of split their enclosure in half. I don't know how exactly they did it. Of course, the show didn't have the biggest budget in the world, so we didn't get to see like the expansion of things like that. So we're just gonna like do our own Golly, man, I suck. We're just gonna do our own guess here. I wish that I was able to place more prehistoric park creatures in this. I would love to place like a mammoth. I'd love to place a Elasmotherium. I'd love to place all kinds of things. Maybe it's about time I recreate prehistoric park in prehistoric kingdom. I mean, you know, there's some connective tissue there. Nigel Marvin is in both of those projects. Yeah, if you guys would like to see that, be sure to let me know. I'd love to do that. So I'm gonna assume that they just built a wall just where that went straight through the middle of the enclosure, right? And it was ready for Matilda to eventually break through and completely demolish her poor brother in a later episode. There's also a lot of trees, not necessarily on the hill. The hill kind of gets a little bit sparse, at least judging from this graphic. So I will place some of this on the hill, and then lots of trees, places for them to hide. And of course, with this being the logic that this is, you know, an actual dinosaur park that's trying to function, they made sure to give them a body of water. I mean, you know, I don't always place body of waters in this, and the reason why is because I have hunger and dehydration turned off, so, you know, there's no real, like, there's no reason to have that. That's why there's no water in here. You know, it's not necessarily necessary. Yeah, those, cool. Okay, so those are some prehistoric park enclosures. Also, so kind of close to where Triceratops Creek is, there is a series of buildings in the trees. That's where Nigel had his office and everything like that. I figure we can incorporate that because I know that there is a hotel. Yeah, we can place this hotel right here. Right. It'll be just right here, and then we could surround it with trees like how it is in the show. Yeah. Now we're getting somewhere. There we go. That's a little corner that is prehistoric park. So we're gonna go ahead and get those dinosaurs cooking up, and while we wait for that, I'm going to start on the Crystal Palace enclosure. I want it kind of like at the very beginning of the park right here as kind of like a little thing that signifies it's one of the first times that the public actually got to view dinosaurs. So, you know, I think it's very fitting to have it here. I mean, when you're like walking in, first you see Laura right here, and then you kind of like walk up, and then boom, Crystal Palace dinosaurs. So off to the side right here. And of course, the creatures that we'll have in this are the Iguanodon and Megalosaurus, because those are some of the most famous examples of creature statues that were created for Crystal Palace Park. They're very cool too. And like recently, earlier this year, it marked 200 years since Megalosaurus was first named, which is the first time a dinosaur had ever been given a name. Which means that it was officially recognized as an actual genus, which is really, really flipping cool, and it started a lot. And the Crystal Palace reconstructions weren't the first time that we saw dinosaur reconstructions, but, I mean, because, like, artists were doing it way before those, but they were one of the first times that the public actually got access to them, and it's, like, the first time that the public really got to see dinosaurs, you know, so it's very cool, very important, and I would love to go and see Crystal Palace one of these days. Don't know when, but eventually. There is a little bit of a creek slash river that kind of runs through here, so we're just going to do it like this, right, a nice little thing like that, and once again, we'll raise it up over here. Nothing too crazy, you know, something that just represents this little piece of history. That, okay. And of course, there is also a lot of vegetation here. So we'll place a lot of that through here. And a lot of trees. Lots and lots of trees. There's actually like a little bit of a hill that the iguanodons are standing up. By the way, how awesome are these iguanodon reconstructions? If that doesn't show you how far paleontology has come since we were first identifying, officially identifying dinosaur fossils, then I don't know what does. It's like you'll notice it kind of looks a lot like, you know, it's got a horn on its nose and everything, because the thumb spike wasn't thought to be a thumb spike at the time. It was thought to be again, a horn on its nose, which is very reminiscent of a rhinoceros iguana too. Regardless, let's get these guys going with a design that's a little bit more updated here. I'm trying to make them look like the Crystal Palace statues as much as possible, so I'm not really taking any creative liberties with the colors. They're just looking like the statues, you know? I guess I'll put 2 of each. I know that there's, I think, about 2 or 3 iguanodons. And I think there's only one Megalosaurus, but I guess we'll see. Okay, I reckon that's everybody. First, we have Theo over here. His colors were kind of tricky to pull off, but I think, the type of reddish orangish colors that he had looked pretty good. The closest I was able to get on the frill was the like kind of green here, but there's like small hints of blue. Because he does have blue in the show. I mean, okay, of course, at first he had reddish in his frill, so this still does kind of match up, and then it switched over to blue at some point. So it's it's not terrible, but it looks pretty good. It looks fine. This is his enclosure right here. Doesn't look bad. And then we go over here and we have Terrence, who I believe was on this side if I remember correctly. Terrence and his larger sister Matilda is in there. She looks exactly like him. That's their enclosure, and then over here we have Iguanodon, two Iguanodons, and I just decided to put one Megalosaurus. These guys are certainly very different from the reconstructions that Crystal Palace has. And like, even though these aren't 100% accurate to our updated understanding, they still are, a lot closer, which again really shows how far we've come when when we make a lot more fossil discoveries and, how much we've learned. So those are our enclosures that we've done for today. Um, you know, as per usual, I do encourage everybody to request what you'd like to see next, because there are a plethora of different things, and we are slowly running out of space. But I've mentioned it before. I might just do another park if we ever do run out of space. But in the meantime, be sure to request what you'd like to see next. Any type of dinosaur movie, show, and documentary, and maybe even video games if we ever get to that point. Yeah, this is looking like a pretty full park. I can't wait until we could do a park tour and see how everything came together. But I do appreciate each and every one of you watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as I delete this fence that I didn't realize I left. And again, just thank you for watching. Have an awesome day.